everybody, and welcome to the next gaming interview. This time, let me introduce you guys to...
What's up, guys? My name is Marco Flores. I'm doing an interview with Patrick Barrett. Thank you for having me, and yeah, I'm ready for the questions. Let's see what you got.
When did you get into gaming?
That's a good question, and you're making me think back, and I don't have great memory. I want to say 87, 88. I was like either 6 or 7 when I got into gaming. My very first instance of like any sort of gaming was like at my mall in where I used to live. I hear all these like I hear all these. I always say this. I hear all these sights and see all these sounds. I hear all these sounds and see all these sights of these like vibrant colors and loud noises. So I went to go check it out, and it was an arcade area. So I was like, what is this? So I was just engrossed into what these things called arcades were. I really was interested in like just staying there for like long periods of time, hours, maybe like half a day, the whole day even. And that's when I got into gaming.
What kind of games do you like?
That's also a good question. Let's see. I range from like fighting games. That's probably like my number one. Fighting games is one. Role-playing games definitely, especially Japanese role-playing games. Action, of course. I love beat 'em ups. What else? Character action, of course, kind of like stems from beat 'em ups. I appreciate the adventure game. I appreciate that. I wouldn't say I have a guilty pleasure, but like I surprisingly like love simulation like management games. Especially when I delve into like the mobile side, because that's what I do for my channel. I do a lot of like mobile games, and like lately I've been doing, not lately, but like majority of the time I've been like looking for management games. So like, you know, your game dev stories, your game dev tycoons, your like Operator 911 right now as I'm like just playing these games. So yeah, when it comes down to it, fighting games, Japanese role-playing games, simulation, I appreciate the adventure. Sports I was into before, but like not so much, because I would rather play the actual sport than play the game. But I can appreciate some of the clips that I see on Facebook and on Twitter about like some memes and how ridiculous sports games can be. I think that's pretty much it.
What fan base in the gaming community would you say is the worst and most toxic?
That's also another good question. You have some very good questions. They make me think, and it's too early in the morning to be able to do that, because I'm doing this right before work. I come from the fighting game community, and that community, at its worst, it can be like guttural, like just grimy, dirty, toxic. But at its best, can be like one of the most like uniting types of communities as like ever, really. Because in the fighting game community, you have to believe that you're the best in either in your local area, or whether you're doing like a regional or national tournament like Evo that just happened this past weekend. You have to believe that you're the best, and what comes with that is, of course, is the ego, which also like brings out the personality in the community, and then like you're becoming this character, sort of say. So, and then like if people don't like that character, then they have no qualms into smashing that quote unquote character down. That can relate to like your personal yourself. So at times the fighting game community can be the most toxic, but a lot of the times it's just celebrating like why we love fighting games. I often see and hear how terrible like the communities of like Dota and like League of Legends and stuff like that. It kind of like being like really bad. I know back in the day, when internet cafes were around, like first-person shooters were the most toxic, and people say some harmful stuff, harmful, like I can appreciate like the toxic stuff, like it's just like terrible stuff. You can't, you know how PC it is nowadays. It's like you can't even like say what we were saying, or not me. Sorry, I gotta preface that, not me, but like what the people were saying back in the day, especially the spray painting when you're talking about Counter-Strike. So like back in the day it was Counter-Strike. Nowadays I always hear often it's like, the Dota, like League of Legends, that community, probably Overwatch if I can match that in together. And yeah, like I've seen some instances with the fighting game community. So those are, I would say, like can be the most toxic communities that are out there.
What is your favorite console?
That would have to be, it kind of comes down to two consoles. It would have to be the Super Nintendo and actually I'm lying. Like Super Nintendo, PlayStation 1, and PlayStation 2 are my top favorites. Super Nintendo because back in the day when I was getting into gaming, I wasn't super attached to Nintendo. But when the Super Nintendo came out and it had all these different types of games, then I was like, oh yeah, what are these? What are those? When you think of like the role-playing game, like this Super Nintendo was what introduced me to JRPGs. Super Nintendo is what introduced me to like unique games that are not really the norm. Excuse me, not really the norm of what I saw on the regular Nintendo. I don't know. Yeah. It was just definitely, it was a thing that, like, growing up, like that was the system that I was connected to, and Sega Genesis was there too. But like I was more of the Super Nintendo fanboy basically. And then I say PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 because sorry, trying to clear my throat. Because it was more of the same. It was more the same of like different games than what I was looking for. And by that time, Nintendo has like their they have their Marios, their Metroids, their Zeldas, Mario Karts, Kirby, Donkey Kong. They had their staples. And then with PlayStation coming into the fray of gaming, a lot of it was like different, unique. And one of my favorite Japanese role-playing games of all time is Suikoden. So when that was introduced into the PlayStation, I fell in love with that game, and I fell in love with the console because it was showing different ideas and characters and games. So those are my top three. If I had to pick one, it probably would be the PlayStation 1, because it just introduced a bunch of like the different stuff that I've been looking for.
What game are you most hyped for?
Let me see. I'm not really hyped for any particular game that is on the verge of coming out right now. I'm always hyped for the next like Street Fighter. I'm always hyped for the next Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters. I'm always hyped for the fighting games portion of it, the next iteration, because I want to see what they're gonna bring out in terms of mechanics and the story, story and all that stuff. Yakuza, I have a deep love for it, because I was involved with that game in the QA side of it, so I have a deep love for the Yakuza games. So I'm always looking forward to the next Yakuza game. You really need to play, like I need to play 0, 6, and Kiwami 2 now. So I still have that in my backlog. Let me see. Not really. Yeah, I don't have any type of games that I'm really hyped for at the moment. But it's just, for me, it's just the next iteration of the games that I'm in love with already. So.
What is one game you would make if you could?
The next damn Suikoden. That's what I need in my life. I need Suikoden 6. I need the next arc in the story of like the True Runes. I need that game. If I was able to make it, no matter the system, I don't care. I just need the next installment. 108 characters, The returning favorites like Victor, Flick, Luca Blight, if so, for whatever reason he was alive again. Luke, what he was doing in Suikoden 3. Like, I need the next Suikoden. If I was to make a new game, it was up to me, and I had the money and the budget, and I was like, forget Konami. Give me the old staff. I'll just, whatever. Suikoden would be the game that I would make, or an inspiration. Anybody that is out there right now, make an inspiration to that game, please, and I will buy that.
What company would you choose to make your ideal game?
So definitely not Konami for that next Suikoden game, as I was saying on the previous question. Let me see. I'm in love with. I love Capcom. I love NetherRealm Studios. Like, I would be interested in their take how a Suikoden-like game would be. Let me see. Platinum, of course, Platinum. Jeez. Cloverfield, if they were back. Yeah. Let me see. That's a pretty good question when you come down to it. Yeah, I would say, yeah. I mean, a lot of it would be SNK. I'd be interested to see what SNK would do, since they're doing SNK Heroines. How they would do like a Suikoden 108 characters. How bussy would the girl side of the 108 characters would be. So yeah, I would say. I mean, there's not one particular, but like I can think of, like, okay, I'd be interested to see what this type of game. I would be interested to see what a Telltale version of Suikoden would look like. So yeah.
What is your favorite location in a video game? Like, for example, a town or a dungeon.
That's a really good question. For whatever reason, it came to mind when this question just brought up. The Golden Saucer from Final Fantasy VII. That place just looks like super tons of fun, and it's like, yeah, it's like, in that world of Final Fantasy VII where like just being outside is super dangerous, and you're getting into fights with like monsters and giant snakes and like mist settings and all that stuff. The Golden Saucer was like a nice change of pace from what you usually see that was out in the world. So yeah, I would say the Golden Saucer definitely would be a cool place to just get gold and go on dates and try to get as many baskets in the basketball mini game, or that fighting mini game, or whatever, or the bike mini games. Yeah, Golden Saucer would be the one.
In your opinion, what are 3 of the worst games ever made?
So I had to Google the worst games that are out there, because my playing memory and playing experience is I tend to go to the games or genres that I really do like. So kind of experimenting with like games that are potentially really bad, I don't really come across, or at least I don't remember off the top of my head. So I had to Google about like what are the worst games that are out there right now, and at least the 3 that I'm picking here are more on the controversies that they had rather than the game itself. They may not be the game may not be as bad, but because of the stories and controversies surrounding these games, probably make it to my list, at least that I can think of in what I researched. So the one that I immediately think of was the E.T. game from Atari, way back in the day, where video games were basically in its infancy, and then it was kind of blowing up at a time, and they thought, hey, let's just make an E.T. game, and they did, and they made too many copies that they didn't even sell all of them, so they had to dump them in a landfill somewhere, because they made too many, and they made a risk that they weren't even researching well enough, and again, gaming was in its infancy back then, and they just thought they could just slap a name like E.T., which was a big movie at the time, and then just throw a video game that was out there. So like that was one that I thought of, and like I thought of on my own when I was trying to think about this question. The other 2 are more at the research. So the other 2 that I thought of was like SimCity, the latest one, SimCity, where the game itself doesn't, it had a lot of promise. It looked beautiful, but again, going back to what the controversy surrounding it, all about having to be online only, and all the DRM stuff, which was a shame because I love SimCity myself. I love playing that game. Of course, it's like a management game, so yeah, I mean, it was a shame to hear about all that stuff that happened before, when the game released, and even before that as well. Like, oh, because people freaking out, and you kind of, I don't know. When I see stuff like that, I personally don't want to take that as that's what I think too. I want to also just kind of consider that information, and then kind of base my opinion. But it was way too many negatives that outweigh the positives. And the third one was let me see, I'm trying to think now. So the third one was No Man's Sky. That's my immediate thought, and again, going back and researching it, No Man's Sky kind of the same thing. Oh, actually, not so much the same thing. It was hyped up way too much. Oh, way too much, saying that you can do all these things, and yet then once the game comes out, it's you're kind of doing the same thing pretty much, but you're going from planet to planet. But then it was promising that you can meet other players, and then it actually there was research there was evidence that you couldn't. There was people saying that they were on the same planet at the same spot area, and yet they couldn't see each other, in the game. So a lot of false promises. No Man's Sky, I was actually pretty excited for that game, just because again, when you promise these things, and that's great, that's awesome, I'm gonna be looking forward to checking out more of this game, and then as it gets closer, once it comes out, it's nothing, kind of nothing that you promised. So yeah, those are the three games that I would think of would be the top three worst games. E.T. for the Atari, SimCity, the latest one, and then No Man's Sky.
Who is your favorite video game music composer?
So it's funny, for this question, I actually have three of my favorite music composers, versus the last question of the three worst games. I had to really think about it. But again, I researched it because these names are not so much in the limelight, as far as I know now, recently, in recent memory. So the first music composer was Harry Gregson Williams, the guy that makes the Metal Gear Solid soundtrack for the previous games. just having that music being kind of a perfect setting. I feel like it was a perfect setting to what the game was portraying, with the missions and Solid Snake and the story and stuff. So that one comes to mind. Harry Gregson Williams. Another one would be Nobuo Uematsu from the Final Fantasy series. A lot of great songs that he put in majority of the Final Fantasy games. My favorites come to mind was basically one of the more the MMO side with Final Fantasy 11, and I'm not sure if he did for 14, but I know 14 has some great music as well. And then the last one, I had to look up the name because I actually wasn't sure. What of my favorite Japanese role-playing games, Suikoden, Miki Higashino. Just hearing the music for the first time, playing that game for the first time, and just being astounded by just the grandeur of I don't know who this is that's making the music. I don't know what kind of game this is, but it was all a perfect storm of just again I'm saying it again, setting the tone, and how big and wide scale your story is in the game. So those are the three that come to mind. So thank you, Patrick Barrett, for those questions, for the interview. I really had a lot of fun just trying to think about you made me think in these questions. So job well done. So yeah, guys, if you guys are interested in checking me out, I'm at youtube.com/nerdinthebay. If you like the stuff that I put out, please be sure to subscribe to us, as we're trying to hit that 1,000 subscribers. And thank you once again, Patrick Barrett, for the interview, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Alright everybody, that is the 6th gaming interview. Thank you so very much, Nerd in the Bay, for letting me interview, man. You had some really great answers. I really appreciate it. And I highly recommend that you guys go and check out his channel. He's got some videos of mobile games, and he also has a good amount of reaction videos on his channel too. Very good, very entertaining. Alright everybody, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching everybody. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye everyone.